Have you ever felt like you're trying hard, doing everything right, but even so, it doesn't move from its place? Like you're running on a treadmill. Lots of movement, zero progress. Maybe the problem isn't your discipline, nor his motivation. Maybe it's the invisible strategy that's sabotaging you, and you don't even realize it. A mistake so common that 90% of people fall for it without knowing it. And the worst, the more you try to fix it, the more stuck you get. But today, we're going to unravel this mistake step by step, and the best, show you how to escape from it before it's too late in the world of goals, objectives, and dreams. Most people believe that the secret lies in working hard. But what if I told you that working hard in the wrong direction only pushes you further away than you want to? In this video, you will understand what is the strategic mistake that blocks 90% of people, even the most hardworking, and how you can avoid it with a simple but powerful change in the way you think and act. All this with examples from everyday life, visual metaphors, and a language that anyone can understand. Imagine that you are in a dense forest with a map in your hands. You are determined, with energy, focus, and the will to reach your destination. But there is a detail. The map is wrong. You can walk with grit all day, but you'll end up further and further away from the right place. This is what happens to most people. They think they are failing because of a lack of discipline, when in fact, they are following a flawed plan. This plan usually starts with phrases like, I need to wake up at 5 a.m. I have to work harder than everyone else. I need to keep myself busy all the time. These ideas seem productive, but they're often shortcuts to burnout, not success. It's like using a map of the city of São Paulo to walk around New York. The route may look familiar, but the destination never arrives. And what is this wrong map in practice? It's when you copy other people's strategies without understanding if they make sense for your reality. A student tries to follow the routine of a businessman. An artist tries to use an engineer's plan. A beginner compares himself to someone who is already years ahead. At its core, strategic error is not about doing little. It's about doing a lot the wrong way, and then a cruel cycle is born. The person gets frustrated, tries harder, fails again, and begins to believe that the problem is him. But the problem was never her. It was the map at the end of this block. The question that remains is, are you following the right map, or are you just going faster in the wrong direction? Have you ever tried to follow the step-by-step of someone successful, expecting the same results? So-and-so did it, and it worked, so I'm going to do the same. This logic seems sensible, but it is a trap. Imitating is different from understanding. When you see someone's outcome, you're not seeing the full context. He does not know the resources, the experiences, the difficulties that person faced. It's like trying to reproduce a recipe just by looking at the photo of the final dish. Without knowing the ingredients, the strategic mistake here is to think that there is a universal formula, when in fact, each person needs to create their own combination. And the most curious, those who try to copy ready-made strategies the most are usually the ones who are most afraid of making mistakes, so they prefer to take a path that has already been trodden, even if it has nothing to do with the destination they want to reach. For instance, a person who wants to be creative copies an executive's rigid schedule. Another, who wants more freedom, follows a plan based on absolute control. In the end, they can't sustain the plan, blame themselves for not having discipline, and go back to where they started. The truth is that success is not copied. It is created from intelligent adaptations. You can be inspired by someone, but if it does not adapt to its context, the risk of getting lost is enormous. So the big turning point is, stop looking for perfect models. Start building your model as possible. Imagine that you are filling a leaky bucket with water. You push yourself, you run with full buckets, You work all day. And at the end of the day, the bucket is still empty. This is the portrait of those who focus more on the amount of effort than on the right direction. Most people associate success with doing a lot. They think, if I study 10 hours, if I work 16 hours a day, if I always keep busy, I'm going to win. But they don't realize that they are wasting energy where there is no return. It's like someone who wants to lose weight and spends all day cleaning the house, thinking that this will replace exercise and food. Yes, it is an effort, but it's not the right effort. This strategic mistake turns everyday life into an endless race. The person feels useful, productive, but deep down he is only filling the time and not really moving forward. Worse, the more she gets tired, the more she believes she is close to success. But tiredness is not progress. Tiredness may just be a symptom that you're going in the opposite direction. You know that feeling that the day has passed and you haven't done anything important? Not a lack of discipline. It is a lack of clarity. It's the classic work on what comes up instead of work on what matters. Basically, the secret is not to do more. It's knowing exactly what to stop doing, and that takes courage. Courage to say no, to choose only one thing, to admit that doing less is sometimes the best way. You know that wonderful plan you created, and never started. Perhaps this is the biggest strategic mistake of all, waiting for the ideal moment. Many people believe that they need more preparation, more money, more time, more motivation. But what they are really doing is postponing the movement. They are stopped, but disguised as planners. The thought goes something like this: I'll start when I'm sure. I'm going to wait for this phase to pass. Just one more course, just one more book. This logic seems prudent, but in practice, it is only fear of making mistakes. Fear hides behind perfectionism, and perfectionism is the best disguise for procrastination. It's like someone who wants to learn to swim, but just sits by the pool, watching videos and reading manuals. Real learning only begins when you jump. The strategic mistake here is to think that the ideal start exists, but the truth is that the ideal never comes. Life will always be messy, full of pending issues, and even so, those who advance are those who start with what they have the way they can. So the insight here is simple. Done is always better than perfect. Because done, you can adjust. Perfect, you never start. You've already set such a big goal, but so big that just thinking about it makes you tired. This happens when we turn our goals into burdens that are too heavy to carry. The logic goes something like this: I want to be promoted. I want to start a business. I want to change my life. All very valid. But here comes the problem. The brain looks at this giant goal and thinks, I'll never be able to handle it. And then what happens? It crashes, paralyzes, not because you're lazy or unmotivated, but because the size of the goal has become a mental block. It's like looking at a ladder with 100 steps and thinking, oh my God, that's a lot. But what if you focused only on the next step? Suddenly, everything becomes simpler, more possible. The strategic mistake here is to think too big at the beginning, without breaking down the path. Great goals need to be broken down into micro actions, in minute steps, because the brain does not deal well with the vague, with the abstract. It needs clear actions, such as, today I'm just going to write one paragraph. Today I'm only going to walk 15 minutes. Today I just need to send an email. These small actions create a virtuous cycle. You do it. You feel that you are moving forward, and this generates motivation to continue. The opposite is also true. Goals that are too big generate inertia, and inertia generates frustration. Lesson from the block: stop trying to climb the entire ladder. Just climb the next step. You've already put together a perfect schedule, and have you never been able to follow, even for 3 days? This is because we often plan life as if it were a robot, when in fact, it is organized chaos. The strategic mistake here is to believe that productivity is synonymous with rigid routine, like waking up at 5 a.m., meditating, drinking green juice, answering 50 emails before 8 a.m., but if something unforeseen happens, it's over. The whole plan falls apart. And then comes the guilt, the self-criticism, the giving up. In practice, the ideal routine is not the prettiest on paper. It's the one you can keep even on difficult days. This requires something called strategic flexibility. That is, adapt the plan to real life and not try to force life to fit into the plan. You can have a structure, of course, but you need to leave room for life to happen. The traffic, the flu, the unforeseen, the discouragement. Real example, have you planned to study 2 hours a day, but today you only got 30 minutes? Very good. He played 30 minutes. This is still victory. Because consistency is not perfection. It is imperfect repetition. Better an adaptable routine that you follow than a perfect routine that you abandon. Imagine you're playing darts. Blindfolded, you launch. And you have no idea if you are getting it right or not. This is the problem of many people. Acting. Without any kind of return, you study, you work. You work hard, but you don't know if you're on the right track, because no one shows you an honest mirror. And without this mirror, the risk is to continue making mistakes without realizing it. This strategic mistake happens when the person avoids feedback for fear of criticism, or when he only hears compliments and never gets a real touch. It's like trying to improve a recipe without ever tasting the food. Real example, someone opens a YouTube channel and posts videos without seeing the metrics, without asking for opinion, without adjusting. Another starts training at the gym but doesn't know if the training is right because he has never evaluated the progress. And so, the effort becomes a shot in the dark. The way out? Create short return cycles instead of waiting weeks to see if something worked. You test it, get a signal, and adjust. It's not about seeking approval, but rather seeking direction. Feedback is not an attack, it's a compass, and sometimes a small external fix saves you months of internal frustration. Those who walk in the dark stumble more. Whoever asks for feedback turns on the flashlight. Have you ever tried dieting, studying, working, taking care of the house, exercising, reading more? All at once. That's that. This is one of the most classic and dangerous mistakes, wanting to change everything at the same time. The human brain is not made for deep multitasking. He can even switch between simple tasks, such as listening to music and making his bed. But when it comes to real focus, the more fronts you try to open, the less depth you achieve. It's like digging several holes at once, hoping to find water. You dig a little bit in each place, you get tired, and never finds anything. But what if you only dug into one point consistently? The chance of finding water would be much greater. This strategic mistake is born of anxiety. The person wants to solve their whole life in a week, but she forgets that progress is a game of priorities, not quantity. Example: you decide to start running. Read 3 books, take a course, change your diet, and start a business, all in 7 days. Result: it doesn't sustain anything. He feels like a failure. It goes back to 0. Choose one battle at a time. Focus. Finalize. Then move on to the next one. Because in the end, success is less about speed and more about direction and constancy. Have you ever said to yourself, "I'm not in the mood today"? Or, "When I feel motivated, I start"? This is one of the most invisible and destructive errors that exist. Most people believe that motivation comes first, then action. But in practice, It works the other way around. It is the action that generates motivation. It's like trying to start a car waiting for it to heat up on its own. It only heats up after you turn the key and start walking. Expecting motivation is dangerous because it's an emotional state. Emotions are unstable. One day you're excited, the next you're tired. And if you depend on that to act, you'll spend your life stuck. The idea here is to exchange motivation for a minimal ritual of movement, a trigger that you activate regardless of whether you feel like it or not. For instance, I don't want to study, but I'm just going to open the book and reread a page. I don't want to train, but I'm just going to change my clothes and put on my sneakers. This small beginning creates a domino effect. The brain goes into motion and the will appears later. It's counterintuitive, but it works. Taking action before you feel ready is what makes you ready. Expect less from motivation. Trust the movement more. Have you ever been obsessed with a result and frustrated that you didn't achieve it quickly? It's the famous one. I want to lose 10 kilograms. I want to gain 100,000 followers. I want to double my income. So far, so good. The problem is when you focus so much on the destination, who forgets to take care of the path? This mindset creates two serious problems. You charge yourself for something you don't control yet. You forget to build the daily system that makes the outcome possible. Result is consequence. System is what you repeat every day, even when no one is looking. For instance, the writer who wants to publish a book, but does not create the habit of writing a paragraph a day. The entrepreneur who wants to sell more, but does not establish a clear service process. This strategic mistake turns goals into a source of anxiety. You get frustrated because you are not there yet. But you don't look if your system is taking you there. The turn is simple but powerful. Change the question. How long is it before I arrive? To what? Do I need to repeat today? The system is good, the result is inevitable. The result is the final photo. System is the camera you turn on every day. You've already started something, stopped, and then felt so ashamed of having stopped that you gave up trying again. This is a silent but extremely common strategic mistake. Thinking that starting over is a sign of weakness. But the truth is the opposite. Those who start over have more strength than those who never try, because starting over requires humility. It requires forgiving yourself and getting back on the road if it's not from the beginning, but from where you fell. It's like someone who is learning to ride a bike, fell. Get up, adjust your balance, try again. Those who have never fallen, in fact, have never really pedaled. The problem is that many people enter the cycle of guilt. I've failed before, so there's no point in trying again. But that's like saying that because you tripped once, you're now going to be on your knees for the rest of your life. The new beginning does not cancel. It's the previous effort. It embodies what you've already learned. You don't come back from scratch. You come back from a more experienced point. Failing is part of the system. Stopping trying is the only real failure. So the next time you slip, take a deep breath, adjust the plan, and keep walking. You know when you're in the middle of the journey and start wondering, why am I even doing this? This question may seem simple, but it reveals the heart of your path. A lot of people get lost because they start motivated, but he never clearly defined the reason, and without a strong why. Any obstacle becomes a reason to give up. It is like a ship without a compass. He even moves, but he doesn't know where he's going. The current of life carries on, and you only realize that you are far from your destination when you are already too exhausted to return. The strategic mistake here is not to nurture the connection. With your purpose, it doesn't have to be something grand or spiritual. Your why can be simple. I want to set an example for my children. I want to prove to myself that I can do it. I want freedom of time and choice. This why is the emotional fuel that lifts you up on bad days. It is what transforms effort into mission. It's what reminds you that every action, even a small one, has a greater meaning. The secret? Revisit this why often. Write it, speak out loud. Stick it on the wall, because when the road gets tough, and it will, only a good reason keeps you going. Whoever has a why finds a how. Have you ever been close to achieving something important, and suddenly he started to sabotage himself? He failed to answer a decisive email. He stopped posting just when the channel started to grow. Or did you drop everything for no clear reason, even though everything was going well? This is the most subtle strategic mistake of all, the fear of success. Yes, it seems contradictory. After all, who doesn't want to win? But real success requires one thing that not everyone is prepared for: responsibility. When you grow up, the eyes enlarge. So is the charge. And, unconsciously, many people think, can I handle all this? It's like a prisoner who has the chance to get out of his cell but is afraid of freedom outside. The cell is bad. ... But it is familiar. Abroad, there is risk, exposure, change. This fear manifests itself in small attitudes: procrastination for no reason, excessive self-judgment, comparisons that make you cringe. The key to breaking this pattern is to understand that success doesn't require perfection. It requires courage. Courage to make mistakes under the spotlight. Courage to keep learning while growing. Courage to sustain what you always wanted, now that it is closer to achieving it. Success doesn't ask you to be ready. It only asks that you be present and willing to grow. The fear of success is just the old fear of the unknown disguised as realism. But that's what growing is all about: allowing yourself to be new. Again, throughout this video, we've seen that most people don't fail due to lack of effort. They fail by insisting on a broken strategy, for following a map that leads nowhere, because he believes that more effort compensates for the lack of direction. But now you know. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right thing at the right time with constancy. Starting today, the question changes. How to work more becomes how to adjust the route. And every little adjustment you make, focus, mindset, routine keeps you away from the strategic mistake, ... And it brings you closer to your true path. The final message is simple but powerful. It's not about going faster. It's about stopping going around in circles, because the right journey, even a slow one, always takes you forward.